Alright, here goes. Hey guys. I probably look a lot different than last time you guys saw me. I've gone through a lot of shit in the last year. And, for those of you who are still watching my videos and who are, checking in and watching this video, I feel like it's only fair that I be honest to you since you're, just coming back. Last year really hasn't been the greatest of my life. Uh, about about a year ago, I started going, and I'm sorry if you guys want me to do a huge intro or some shit, but I kind of just want to get into this and let you guys know what's been going on in my life. About a year ago, I started going really hard on some bad stuff, like some bad drugs, and wasn't a high point in my life. I'm still going through some rough times. I'm dealing with not having very much money, so I'm not going to be able to do any gaming videos like I used to do. At least not for a long time. It's going to be difficult, but I don't know. I'll try to get that stuff out to you guys later. But right now I just want to address how the last year of my life has been. Like I said, about a year ago, I started going really hard on drugs, and some of you might be wondering, what drugs are those? About 2 years ago, I started smoking weed, and I noticed that it helped with my problems. It helped with my anxiety, my depression, my ADHD, helped me sleep, it helped me with a lot of stuff. But I felt like I needed more help, and about a year ago, I started hanging out with some bad people. And they, told me, hey, this will make you feel good, try this pill, or hey, drop a couple tabs of acid, it'll make you feel good. And it made me feel amazing. So I kept doing it, and I kept putting my family away, pushing them away, and I kept, flipping them off, just, saying fuck you to my family, and pushing them away for drugs, and I ended up getting on probation for weed, taking it to school and shit. And then I popped some pills, hung out with the wrong person, he fucking got me in some big trouble. Now I'm on probation for a theft too. And this summer, towards the end of this summer, as some of you guys know, I was living with my grandma, and she couldn't really control me. I wouldn't let her control me. I didn't listen to a word she said. Anything she would tell me, whatever, doesn't matter. That's what I thought. And so I pretty much just did whatever I wanted, and I realized that that's not what I wanted to keep doing with my life. I wanted to do something, that didn't involve drugs. So I made the conscious decision to go to live with my dad again. And things were going good there for a couple months. Couple months of things going good. I felt like, maybe I had finally fixed the relationship between me and my dad and my stepmom, and, I got to hang out with my little sisters, and that felt great. It was, I felt like I was getting my life back on track. Then one night I came home and I got in an argument with my stepmom, and the day after next, I was eating a bowl of cereal, and a cop knocks on the door, tells me to step outside, has me get on my knees, puts cuffs around my ankles, has me put my arms behind my back, and next thing I knew, I'm on my way back to Klamath because he wants me to spend some time in juvie for an argument with my stepmom, and that's when things really started to go bad. Doesn't seem like much, argument with your stepmom, go spend a week and a half in juvie. It's not that bad, right? Things only went downhill from there. Me and my dad started getting along worse and worse and worse, and we went out and we got a new house, and things were going okay, I guess. I was trying to deal with the way my dad was and the way my stepmom were, because I knew that it was better than me being on drugs and shit. And when we moved into the new house, I decided that I was gonna have a day where I was gonna not follow the rules for a little bit. Relax. My mom was in town. I wanted to see her, so I skipped the last half of school to hang out with her. And when I got home, me and my dad got in a huge argument. He was mad because he felt like I didn't appreciate all the shit that he had to deal with, taking me back on with me being on probation. And, I told him that I never asked him to pick all that stuff up, that I never wanted him to deal with all the shit that went on with my probation, that I never asked him to do that. And he said, you know what? You don't want to deal with my rules, then just leave. And, I walked to the highway, hitchhiked back to Klamath, went to my mom's house the next morning, and she called my probation officer, let her know what was going on. There was already a warrant out for my arrest, so I complied. And the night before, I had smoked weed for the first time in a couple months. So, my piss was dirty when I went to juvie. So when they piss tested me, it came up dirty. And I got locked up for a month and a half, and then they sent me to treatment. When I got to treatment, I was happy because I felt like, maybe things are going to get better. Maybe I'm, not going to have to smoke weed to deal with my problems. Maybe I'm going to get some help with the mental issues I have. Maybe things are going to get better. I'm at the bottom. Things can only go up, That's how I felt. I was wrong. I was getting in a lot of fights there, and I really didn't like it there because, didn't really get along with the people there. They weren't the type of people that I liked to hang around, because they were the type of people I used to hang around. And they glamorized drugs. People were cheeking their meds. For those of you who don't know what cheeking is, it's basically where when you take your medication at night, you fake swallowing it, and then you keep the pill. And people were doing that and going in their rooms and snorting them, and there was cigarettes and stuff in treatment, and it was like, well, what the fuck kind of a treatment is this? I'm trying to better myself, and I'm around all these people who are still getting high in a place where you're not supposed to be able to get high. It's supposed to be rehabilitation. And so after my third or fourth fight with the same kid, I just started running until, they discharged me. And eventually another warrant got put out for my arrest, and I had to go back to Klamath, which was an 8-hour drive in shackles. Kind of sucked. And I spent another month in juvie. And after that month in juvie, I got to go to another treatment. This one was completely different. It was strict, and it was good. It was good that it was strict, because that meant I couldn't just do whatever the hell I wanted. It was structured, but I still didn't get along with the kids. They picked on me, and I can't say picked on me, because that's not really what they were doing, but they fucked with me in every little way they could, and it pissed me off, because what I really wanted to do was I wanted to knock them the fuck out. But I knew if I did that, instant assault charge, and I'm screwed. So, I felt like I'd fucked my life up to the point where there was no going back. And so I tried to kill myself in my room. It was the second time that I've ever tried to kill myself. The first time was while I was living with my dad. I tried to overdose on a pill. I can't remember what it's called. It's Boost Bar. Turns out you can't overdose on that. It just makes you sick. But I tried to hang myself in my room. I had the top bunk of the bunk bed, and so I decided to fake being sick so I could take a sick day. And when the not the guards, I can't really say that, wasn't juvie, but when the staff, they don't really look in your room when you're taking a sick day and there's nobody in your room. That's kind of why I wanted to do it. And right before lunch, I think it was like a half an hour, maybe an hour before lunch, I tied my sheet around my bed, made sure that no one was going to check on me, went to the bathroom and everything like that, faked going to the bathroom so that way they would think that, oh, okay, he's okay, we don't need to check on him. I climbed on top of my chair, and I tied it around my neck, and I dropped off the chair. Tried to hang myself with my sweater. Might have said sheet. It was my sweater. Sorry. It's hard to talk about, so, sorry if things get a little bit confusing. My room was right next to this staff station, where they sit there on the computer and, do their paperwork or whatever the fuck they're doing. And he said he heard a thumping noise. I don't know if maybe it was me kicking out, but I blacked out. And next thing I knew, he was lifting me up, yelling at me, to untie it from my neck. And all I remember is sitting there crying and saying, I can't untie it. I can't do this. I can't untie it. I tied it too tight. And I kept asking him, just please let me drop. Let me end it all. I don't want to live past this. And, eventually I realized, he's not going to let me down until I fucking untie it. So I untied it, and they took me to the mental hospital. Well, a psychiatric ward in the hospital that was nearest to the place. This was in Roseburg, Oregon. I don't know how many people know where that is. But it was in Roseburg, Oregon. And they took me to the hospital, and I spent almost a week in the psychiatric ward. And I got to go home after that. They let me go home. My probation officer was finally convinced that my drug use was because of mental issues instead of I just want to get high. And I got to go home, and I think it was 4 or 5 days into being home, maybe not even that long, I tried to kill myself again. I wanted to go over to my friend's house, because it was his birthday. I hadn't seen him in a long time, so I wanted to go say hi, what's up. And when I was leaving the house, my grandpa thought I'd slam the door or something, and, me and him got in a big fight, yelling at each other and stuff, and I felt like my mom didn't care about it, and I thought, if my mom doesn't care, the person who gave birth to me, if she doesn't care, why the fuck should I care? And so I grabbed the bottle of pills that they had prescribed me, Seroquel. It's a sleeping med, and it's an antipsychotic. And I grabbed that, and I took all 36 of them. They were 100 milligram pills, so that was 3,600 milligrams of Seroquel. And when my mom came in, she was talking to me, and she sat down next to me, and she gave me a hug. And she said, listen, Blake, I'm sorry. Your grandpa had no right to do that. You're not his kid. And, I'm really sorry that happened. And, if I had seen it, I would have stopped it. And I thought, man, I don't want to live through this, but I at least want to tell my mom I'm sorry, and that I love her before I go. And so I reached up and I grabbed the bottle of the pills, well, the empty bottle of pills now, and I handed them to her. And I said, Mom, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. And she started freaking out. She told my sister to call 911, and fire truck came, and the ambulance, and, checking my blood pressure and my oxygen levels, and they were driving me up to the hospital. And I remember getting somewhat drowsy on the way to the hospital, so they kicked it up to a code 3, I think is what they said. And so they were racing me to the hospital as fast as they could. And when I got there, I was feeling fine. I understood what was going on. I knew where I was, who I was, the general time of what it was even. And they had me drink charcoal, which tastes absolutely nasty. It's this black liquid that you drink, and either one, it'll make you throw up, or two, it absorbs the toxins of pills, and it kind of nulls the effect. And they had me drink 2 cups of that, and it's about the last thing I remember. I remember asking them for some water, and then that's it. And then I remember waking up sometime in the middle of the night. There was this, I was strapped down, and I couldn't breathe because there was this big tube down my throat and stuck in my lungs. It was forcing me to breathe, and I couldn't draw in breath, so I was freaking out. Woke up in the middle of the night, didn't know where I was. All I saw was tons of doctors around me. I'm not even sure how many of them were real. I can't remember their faces, or even if they were wearing masks or what their outfits were, but I remember there was lots of them. And I started freaking out. I started thrashing and trying to get my arms out of the restraints so I could rip the tube out of my throat so I could breathe. And then I remember the drugs pulling me under again, and next thing I knew, I woke up and I was laying in a hospital bed. There was this nurse staring at me, and she, didn't really say anything. I was hooked up to quite a few machines, things that monitored my breathing, something that monitored my oxygen levels, my heart rate, everything. And I had a catheter too. For those of you who don't know what a catheter is, it's something they stick down your nether regions, so to speak. It's a tube about, I don't know, like that thick probably, with a little balloon attached to the end of it, and they stick it down through your urethra, so that way if you piss yourself in the middle of the night, they don't have to clean it up, basically. And I had one of those in, and I didn't know where my mom was because I thought I was still in Klamath. I thought maybe she had just gone home and she was gonna come visit me or something, when she got off work. I wasn't tripping about it. I understood, we're short on money, it's gonna cost money to live. So I understood that, I thought she was at work. And I asked, the nurse that was sitting there, and I asked her, hey, where's my mom? She said, oh, she's sleeping right there. And my mom came up and, she started crying, and she said, I'm happy you're alive, and I'm glad you made it through this. And, I didn't really know what to say because I wasn't sure at the time whether I was glad I had made it through it or not, I wasn't sure how happy I was to be alive. And, my mom, she was like, do you know where you are? And I said, yeah, I'm in Sky Lakes Medical Center, which is the hospital in Klamath. And she said, no, Blake, you're not. You're in Portland. They had to life flight you to the state hospital because you had stopped breathing, and they had a big tube down your throat. And, my heart rate was at 190. And I'm not sure how many times I died that night. But, I survived. And they wanted to put me in an actual mental hospital for a couple weeks. And I said, yeah, I don't want to put my mom through this kind of stuff anymore. And I signed the papers, and I said, yeah, I want to go. And right before that, I had called my dad. And I told him, I wanted to call him to make sure he knew that I was okay, because I'm sure he knew what was going on, and he did know what had happened. My mom had let him know. And I remember him saying to me, I don't know how you can flip a switch and go from being fine to wanting to kill yourself and end it all. You basically gave your mom, you gave your mom a heart attack over basically nothing. And, I remember pausing for a second and saying, you make it sound like I choose to be depressed. Like, this is a choice of mine. Like, I want to kill myself. And I remember him pausing for a few seconds and him saying, you know what? That's exactly what I fucking think. And it crushed me. I had to be life flighted up to fucking Portland, that's a several hundred miles because I had stopped breathing and I was as good as dead, and he thought I was just doing it for attention, and I knew I couldn't do it anymore. I just hung up the phone and decided I'm never going to talk to him again. I went to the mental hospital, and it didn't really help, to be honest. All it really did was piss me off, make me never ever want to go back there again. The staff there discriminated me because of my past drug use, and I remember one of the doctors saying, oh, you might want to go to one of the group that's going on. It was a therapeutic group where we got to actually sit down and talk about our problems and why we're depressed and shit. And so I was planning on going to it. And he asked me, are you gonna go to it? And I was like, I don't know, I might not. And he's like, well, you might want to go to it. Some people like to talk about their problems and other people like to pop pills. And I was like, really? That's what you're gonna fucking say to me? I get it, I'm an ex-drug addict, I've made some bad choices, but you don't gotta throw it in my face. And that was pretty much all that went on there the entire time, so I was just trying to get the hell out of there. And when I finally got out, I was so happy. I remember watching TV at the hotel, eating Mexican food, and watching YouTube with my mom, and I took a nice hot shower, and I was like, I'm never doing this again, because I never want to go through something like that again. I never want to put my mom through something like that again. And it was decided right then and there, I'm never trying to kill myself again. And I came home, and I've been hanging out with my friend. He's gonna be the first person watching this video, so bro, if you're watching it, comment down below so people can see who I'm talking about. He's my one true friend. Me and him went through addiction together, and now we're going through recovery together, and it means a lot to me that I've got a homie who has been there with me, who's gone through all this shit, who I've gotten into some shit, and who's got me into some shit, but in the end of it, we're still, we're almost like brothers, I would call him my brother, because at the end of the day, I know I've got him no matter what. He's my homie, and he always will be my homie. And things have been getting better. Like I said, a little short on money. Here, I'll show you. Fuck you, low battery. I'll show you. No, I don't want to go on low power mode. I'll show you where I'm recording right now. It's my stepdad's garage. Like I said, a little short on money right now. I've been having to go back and forth between staying at my grandpa's and staying at my stepdad's and staying at my friend's. But, I've been making it work. I can't complain. It's better than sitting in the fucking mental hospital. I don't know. That's really all I got to say for this video. I was planning on keeping it short and sweet, but I guess, kind of spilled my heart out in this one. And for those of you who watched it till the end, thank you. I'm glad that you actually care enough to sit here and listen to this, listen to all my pauses and all me trying to remember what exactly went on, because last year's been kind of hazy and shit. And, I'm just glad that I'm off pills and I'm off coke and quitting cigarettes, and I'm quitting. I actually haven't smoked weed in a long time either. I'm staying clean till I get off probation, at least off of weed till I get off probation. I don't know. Weed's one of the only thing that really has helped me. I don't like the narcotics they put me on. Well, they're not narcotics. They never put me on those because I'm an ex-drug addict. But I don't like the pills they put me on to help me, because they always have some side effect. So, I don't know, keep my nose clean till I get off probation, and then I guess I'll see how things work out. But right now I'm happy I'm clean, I'm happy I'm sober, and I'm happy I've got a friend who can go through it with me. And I'm happy I've got you guys that I can vent to if I ever need to. So, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more vlogs like this, hit the like button. I guess, you don't gotta. Just glad that you're here. And, see you guys in the next video. Thanks.